Is that a modern Dragon Ruler deck that we're seeing being innovated out here? Make sure you smash the link crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So we have your weekly next play, and I will say that now that the OCG format has finally settled in on what they were expecting for the new meta here, it is definitely interesting to see the innovations and things that they're pushing out here. And the most represented deck this week was actually Tenpai for their event. I'm not all that surprised. People are so hyped for Tenpai right now. It's actually crazy. And then we followed up with Fire Kings, and then your two-ofs here. We had Voiceless Voice, Centurion, Drytron, Fallen of Albaz, and of course some Gimmick Puppet. And then all of your one-ofs across the board here. I do see Adam Emancipator's back at it. We also had Valmonica, and there's some very interesting little choices here. Now, typically, keep in mind this is a more localized event in Japan, but they are very famous for posting their results every week. So you get the chance to see the intricacies of their meta typically evolving, and participation numbers are always very interesting to see. There's nothing really, I think the Tenpai numbers are pretty interesting. Top 8 here, or rather top 7 for their cutoff here. We did have one Dragon Ruler deck in the top cut. I'm not going to lie to you. Genuinely, it is really awesome to see that. And we'll talk about the list here in a second. I see, I'm not really too familiar with the next one is. We have Momento. We also have some Tenpai good stuff for you here. Centurion, Salaman Great. After the showing of YCS Japan, and what was just Salaman Great smashing down the meta, I think a lot of people have a deeper appreciation right now for what Salaman Great actually can do for the meta. And the doors are open now. If you want to test out Solid after YCS Japan, you can do so. The deck actually looks pretty scary. And we also had Astrograph, Sorcerer, and Fringe. You gotta love these pendulum and piles just doing absolutely crazy in the course of the meta. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed. Let's pass on over to deck list. So winning our event here is actually this Pendulum Magician pile, which doesn't, honestly, there's nothing in here that really scares me too much. This is pretty standard Supreme King Magicians piling through. You do have the Zark interactions, you do have the Starving Venom, but this deck puts up a pretty simple end board most of the time. You know, you have Baron DeFleur, you have the Odd Eyes Vortex, and it just looks like some decks just kind of are having a problem trying to break these boards, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a little bit more challenging. You do see the Gravekeeper's inscription down there on the side. I feel like that's going to be more of a normal thing that we're going to start to see out here as the meta kind of flourishes towards this. But if you're looking at this and you're like, hey, you know, why can't we play this? Well, Electromite is still one of those pieces that you need to trigger off the Astrograph, because the interaction for the Astrograph to special itself actually is just that needed for the deck. So congratulations to Astrograph and friends out here, actually making a amazing first place showing. You love to see it. Alright, next up here is Momento. And if you have not picked up your Memento core yet, I think you're missing out right now. The fact that the new fusion allows you to drop 3 pieces from the deck is actually kind of insane. We've been noticing some pretty interesting numbers out here with this deck, and you know, we're still only playing one of the combined creation, one Sheeple. You're still doing the triple fusion, the triple bone party, one of the field spell. That's not really changed. It's just in terms of your extra deck developments, I do see we do have the Herald Link too in here, which is kind of interesting. Most of your deck is just turbo through the big guy, set up, and then just set up the big 5,000 with the trap card up and running, and you just cruise control the rest of the game. There's nothing, it's not like Memento's an incredibly hard deck to play. It's just whichever little combo lines you have to initiate in to go down, you just have to make sure that you're paying attention, and it should be pretty easy to handle. Like, honestly, that's the best thing I can say about Momento right now. Now, there is this thing. We are playing triple Seca's Light in here as a draw power engine, but I didn't expect to see a modern Dragon Ruler pile coming out of nowhere in here, actually, with the Armed Dragon Thunder package. The fact that you do have the new Armed Dragon that can extend itself if you are doing the bigger lines of play. Of course, Tomahawk had to show up out here. I still can't believe that the OCG still has Tomahawk legal just for the stupid things it can do. You also have, of course, we do play the little Dragon Ruler in here. I guarantee you a lot of people played against this at this event. They're just like, what in the world's actually happening here? Looking at this, though, it's a lot of Armed Dragon pile interactions climbing on up. You have the Hermetic Seals, the Saruja pile. I would love to see something like this get adapted for the TCG once we finally do get the new Armed Dragon. And honestly, who would have thought a competitive Armed Dragon build? Okay, next up is another Salaman Great pile here, and once again, after the success of YCS Japan, you're finally getting the chance to see this deck do its thing. You do have 3 of the new hand trap down there on the side, by the way. And of course, the deck is sporting off the Kaiser Coliseum. We did talk a lot about Kaiser Coliseum and a lot of the progress follow-up for this deck. I do think a lot of the reason why this deck actually does see a lot of play in the OCG is the fact that Kaiser Coliseum is a card. I know the OCG, the Japan finalist top 4 list from YCSJ did not play Kaiser Coliseum because it's 1-on-1 format. But the fact that you still do have it down here on the side, I think is an incredibly powerful piece. Outside of that, you're also seeing the Code of the Soul over there as well. This deck is just power up through a lot of very strong lines, and the deck has very consistent results. You know, the end boards of this deck is able to access. It's not like they're anything really too crazy, but it's enough to destroy your opponent. So good stuff for seeing this. Now we have some other lists that were actually posted. We didn't get the chance to see a Tempai list out of this event. You do see the one little Pokey Draco looking friend over there. But this list is only playing 2 Pydra. I don't know. Obviously, I understand like we do have the new Pobbler. When it adds itself to the hand, it can special itself, and then you contribute it as an attempt to special summon something. So I guess you can cut a Pydra down, but I don't want to be hurting my consistency. You also do see a lot of Samurai Destroyer in here. Samurai Destroyer has definitely been one of those cards that has highly moved up the ladder of power for this. I also see we're playing a Bucephalus in here. Why are we playing the Link 5? I guess just as a dump target if need be, sure. We are also citing the Magna Hut. I guess the Magna Hut can be a little bit hit or miss in here as well. We're also main decking 1 Nibiru. Interesting. I don't like a lot of these ratios, but it's interesting to see what people are cooking up here. All right, we have a Voiceless voice deck here. Every time I look at these Voiceless voice decks, I'm hoping for some like level of innovation. I guess the Magna Hut is the thing to be excited about here. And of course, since Pot of Prosperity is in fact limited in the OCG, they have to play the double Pot of Extrav. Honestly, it's not a terrible trade-off. You're obviously, you know, sacrificing the filtering options to, you know, get a blind draw too, which sometimes the draw 2 can just put you in such an advantage here. You can also tell by the way the extra deck is optimized down here. They don't really they're not too fearful of it. You do see the Otis Pentagraph down here on the side. You also do see the 2 copies of the Mulchi Mommy. That hand trap, it's see in play. Yeah, I mean, who cares, man, if Max sees a card? Just double down on your opponent. Just hit him with 1 hand trap and hit him right with the other one, all right? And you know what? And then hit him with another Mulchi Mommy because you can stack that garbage up and resolve it and have your opponent go, wow, I really love this game. Next up here is some Madolche with a Punk package? Well, I'm used to seeing, like, the Vernal Soul stuff in here, but we're playing, what, a 3 cards? Well, technically we were all playing E-Tellies in here as well. With Tracker, are we just using this just as Earth pieces to turbo through? Oh, never mind. I see what we're doing here. We're using this to get to the Invoker. You know, I keep forgetting that the OCG has Invoker legal. The fact that they can actually make Invoker on the turbo through and then just be like, okay, you know, we can do the most basic Madolche combo here. Looking at this, though, this is actually pretty nice. I still wonder why the TCG doesn't have Invoker yet, especially when you're looking at something like this list. I think Invoker would be something to kind of mess around with. I know Madolche has not been figured out yet in the OCG. Give it some time. I think we'll see more people developing the combo, but for now, Invoker is a very cool thing to actually see. And we had one more list here. It's actually some Valmonica. I've seen a lot of people trying out Valmonica stuff as late. You know, we did get the new trap card for the deck, and we also did get the new super-powered Link monster that they're playing as a one-of down there. The problem with this deck still kind of remains. You still have to be able to set up scales and then kind of attempt to play the game. And sometimes I just feel like this deck is too slow. I don't know what other fancy creative card they can come up with, but for now, it's still a little bit of a mess in my opinion. I believe this deck went 2-3 for this event, which is not good. So that's all we have for today on a Next Play. I love what I'm seeing here. So please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in the day, guys. Peace.
Patrons, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.